The following program paid for by Rosenberg Financial Group. Providing live finance advice since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherri Goss, Randy Goss, and Becca Wilton. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions and comments. And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. Randy and Sherri Goss are here to take your phone calls, 478-742-0940. It's been another busy week as we move forward in taking over Rosenberg Financial Group. We have a lot of work to do. I'm meeting with a lot of people, a lot of amazing, wonderful people. Steve was their advisor, and now they're shifting to me. And I thank God every day for having such an incredible business and such incredible clients. It's just phenomenal business. And staff, amazing staff. We have the best group of people we've ever had, just doing phenomenal. Anyways, so if you have a question for us, and as a reminder, we do complimentary consultations. I did one yesterday afternoon with a wonderful couple. He's retired. She's getting close. She's like on the 5-year plan. And just so you know what a consultation is like with me, we send you a couple of pieces of paper to fill out in advance so it's easy for me to see your financial picture.
And they're not difficult papers.
No, you just print them out and you write by hand. So debts, income, assets, concerns, a place to list, like what are your top three things that you're worrying about. And I could look that they brought me their statements from all their investment accounts. They brought me their Social Security options of when they can retire and how much they'll get. They brought me life insurance, all of these things. And so in 50 minutes, we can go through all of that and lay out a plan. And between their Social Security projections and a 4% distribution based on what they have saved and what they are saving, they're going to be just fine.
That Social Security website is Social Security or
SSA.gov.
Yeah. You can go there and print out your projections based on your birthday and what year you plan to retire.
So you print out you go to SSA.gov and you have to log in. So you have to give them personal information so they can verify who you are. Like, did you ever live at this residence? Did you ever live on this street? Or did you ever have this bank account? Or did you ever have this loan? So you have to go through the hoops because they want to make sure that they're giving the projection to the right person. And it's very secure. And so you go in there and then you just print out your statement. And your statement will tell you what your benefits are at 62, full retirement age, 70. And it's really helpful to look at that stuff so that
you can... It's really fun to look at it.
Yeah. It's a great thing to look at, even though it's going broke in a few years.
So they say.
Yeah. Well, it'll get fixed. There's no way Social Security can fail.
Neither party wants to be the one to let that fail.
It would be a disaster. So anyway, so don't worry about that. Just look at it and plan for the long haul. So it was interesting. The husband has retired, and that the biggest issue is health insurance. So she's going to work until they're both 65 and can go on Medicare. That is one of the biggest things that I'm seeing with people is health insurance is the biggest outlier going into retirement because it's so expensive.
And it's expensive regardless of your age because we're trying to find good health insurance for our employees, and it's impossible. It's impossible.
So, anyway, we are here to take your phone calls, 478-742-0940. I want to promote an event that's happening Thursday at the Small Business Development Council. And so look up SBDC Macon, and because they are funded, let me not get into all that, the UGA, they're part of UGA, but what their business is to help people build, create, and buy and sell small businesses. They're really good at what they do. They helped us. I've talked about them before. They helped us buy Pittman Automotive in Milledgeville that our son runs. And they're providing a virtual summit on Thursday for $69, and it's for women in business. Blazing the Way is what it's called. So if you're interested, if you're a women business owner and you want some tips on how to grow your business, there are going to be business leaders at this summit that you're going to be able to interact with and engage with that know what they're doing and they're good at what they do. And so you never can learn too much. Whether you're struggling as a small business owner or whether you're have an established business, there might be things that you don't realize you could be doing to grow more. And so I went to their Grow Smart program a few years ago. It was an 8-week program. I can't remember what it cost, like $400 or something, but it was a 1 day a week for 8 weeks, and there were 30 of us in a room, small business owners, sharing, telling stories, doing challenges, being challenged to how to grow ourselves to the next level, and it was really fantastic. It was really exceptional. So they do a really good job training. You can also call them at 478-757-3609, and if you didn't catch that, you can email me, Sherri, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, and I will send it to you so that you can sign up, because now is a really good opportunity. Now is an opportune time to learn, because COVID is waning, and by the first of the year, things should be pretty much back to normal. And so if you've been struggling with COVID and that's hurt your business, it's time to start ramping yourself up, because this is going to end, and things are going to come back to normal, and there's pent-up demand everywhere.
That's right.
That's all you got to say?
That's right. I'm a man of few words today.
I got to say, if you live in Warner Robins, or maybe you don't live there and you want to visit, we ate one of the best steaks we've ever had in Warner Robins in our lives.
Right.
Last night at the Pond.
The Pond.
Right down the street from our office.
On Moody Road.
It was. I highly recommend the steak with the mashed potatoes that are loaded with all sorts of bad and unhealthy things.
The waiter came back and said, "You got everything you need. You need some more bacon for that potato." I'm like, "Yeah."
More bacon? Are you kidding me?
Come
Sure,
on.
we'll take that. Anyways, we ate. I think I still have jet lag from it. Anyways, so a client was in this week. We had a great conversation. One of Steve's clients, just a wonderful lady, and we were talking about what's going on in the world. And she gave me this quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, a smart guy, "If you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you are misinformed." You can't win right now.
Right. And it's almost comforting to know that he had the same concerns
back then
that we have right now.
Can you imagine how rotten it was back then? Because they could do anything they wanted and get away with it, because no one fact-checked anything. You didn't have the Internet.
Well, that's true. There's no fact-checking back then. But now they were getting all their misinformation on a local, regional basis. And now we get the fire hose of information from the global perspective.
Yeah,
crazy.
Which some of it's wrong, and we're going to talk about that. So this is very interesting. So local news. I was going to go through this next, wasn't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
You were.
Okay. So we subscribe to a number of websites that give us intel on the market, and this one talks about fundamental indicators. So over the last 13 years, quantitative easing has been utilized for extended periods to help spur the economy, and that's where the government creates money out of thin air and spends it. Consequently, the stock market during downturns, during slowdowns. However, never before has this monetary experiment been implemented in such an aggressive manner. Between March and June of 2020, the Fed expanded its balance sheet by over $3 trillion, and I don't even think that's right. I think that's way underestimating, because I've been questioning how much FEMA has spent on COVID. The numbers are not anywhere. You cannot look it up. All the testing, all of the hospitalizations, all of the treatments, all of the, there's no, oh, you have a phone call? Oh, good. Let's go to the phones. But anyways, I don't know. If anybody knows the number of what FEMA actually spent, I would sure love to know it. Good morning. You're on Your Money with Randy and Sherri.
Good morning. Good to hear from both of you this morning. This is Robin Jackson from Perry, Georgia. And just wanted to say, I hope everybody enjoy the fair. Today is the last Saturday.
Yeah, I can't stand the fair.
Yeah, but see, we're just not.
I don't like
we're not crowded people.
I can't do crowds.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Well, especially where today it's going to be so many folks out there, and of course you better get your roast corn as the usual. And I just want to say to remind the folks today is voting. You can vote early, as far as in Macon they'll be voting on a 1% 1 cent sales tax. that is, they're gonna whether or not you want to increase your
Okay,
sales tax.
so let me cut you off right there because it's not for everybody. So the 1% tax is actually for restaurants and hotels, and what the mayor is going to do is he's going to use that OLOST, is what they're calling it, to offset real estate taxes. So everybody in Bibb County is going to have a reduction in the taxes they pay for their property because of this. They're not going to be paying this unless they go out to eat or stay in a hotel.
Yeah, because before this idea was put forth, is all the property owners were taking a lot of the lion's share.
Yes,
of
carrying
the
the burden.
That's right. So
Right.
they're just trying to levelize the playing field.
Because they say 70% of the tax will be paid by people that are passing through,
Yep.
traveling, not by people who live here. So it's a very positive, net positive for people that own property in Bibb County. Still there?
Is he still there?
Okay.
There you are. Okay.
Anyway.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we
Yeah.
can, yes.
Okay, now, well, like I said, there's early voting again this Saturday
Okay.
and next Saturday, and also up until the 29th of this month. And also in Perry, there'll be early voting on as far as the mayor, and there's a candidate running for write-in. So
Okay.
we also want to remind you that in Warner Robins, they have a competition between the mayor in that city, and also city councilmen up. And
Yep.
today and next Saturday will be early voting. So, and then they'll go up until the 29th of October. So please get out and early vote for those.
I agree.
Who get, and also you mentioned about, I know the last Saturday you said not to get the COVID shot if you injection or vaccine, whatever you want to call it, if you already been
Okay.
But
Let's.
But we're just going to close it out. As for just tell the people can enjoy the fair today.
Thank you.
Got it.
And I thank you all for letting me get on the air today.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, have a
You
good
all
weekend. It's a
have
beautiful day.
Wonderful weekend too. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Bye.
All right.
All righty.
You're talking...
I was talking about the debt, and I was talking about how there's no way that they've only spent $3 trillion, because just think of what each test cost, what each hospitalization where they reimbursed hospitals for COVID tests, and they're reimbursing people who died up to $11,700 for funeral expenses. That's all coming out of the FEMA budget. I would love to know what the true number is, because this is completely wrong. This guy is really worried about this number. He needs to be worried about a bigger number that's probably 3 times this number.
I did read an article this last week that they put the number really closer to $5.5 trillion.
Has to be. I'd guess more like 10, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I
anyways,
just don't know.
Yeah. So since the June of 2020, they've been purchasing $120 billion worth of securities, $80 billion in treasuries, and $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities. And by the way, they do this by buying this from themselves. The government buys it from themselves to create money that they use to do these programs, and it has to be paid back. It cannot. We have never in the history of the world just written off a line item. But there are people actually talking about that option of just making it disappear.
Well, you know, the monetary theorists out there, they believe that because we own the printing presses, we can print as much money as that we want, and there is no negative consequence to it. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I think we need an actual budget that actually is real, like with real numbers on it.
Yeah.
The rest of us have to live like that.
I don't understand. I do understand because it's government, but in our individual households, if we want to start a new program or buy something, we have to, put it in our budget. And we don't seem to have the concept of a budget anymore in this country, as at least the leadership don't.
Right.
I mean, they may go through the process of doing it, but they spend trillions more than we actually have in the budget. Yeah.
Every year. So this has resulted in a further expansion of the balance sheet. So the total assets of the Fed now stand at approximately $8.5 trillion. So that's even more than you were thinking, and it's way worse than that, I'm certain. Prior instances of Fed tapering have resulted in increased volatility. Expectations are for at least one rate hike in 2022, because they have to raise interest rates as they start winding this money down to get our economy back to normal. This aligns with our belief that the Fed could be forced to tighten policy sooner than they hoped. So the stock market is more expensive today than at nearly every market peak in the past 60 years. This guy's concerned about the valuation. And so people that are bringing over money, that have brought over money in the last couple of months, we have not put them all in the portfolio because we're waiting, because there could possibly be a pullback.
And you don't want to put somebody in the market
and then
when
have
it's
a
riding
pullback
at the high point.
Right. So it says, what role could today's housing bubble play in the stock market outlook? The historical answer would be a very big one because homeownership represents the largest share of the average American household wealth. A drop in housing prices would almost certainly have a negative effect on consumer confidence and spending. The graph below that you cannot see shows just how far housing prices could conceivably fall after the unprecedented ascent of the past 12 months. Specifically, housing prices would have to decline 42% to return to the broader inflation trend line. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So, if you're selling, you're in the good shoes. If you're buying, you're in the bad shoes. Are there still reasons to continue giving this bull market the benefit of the doubt? From the objective and an analytical perspective, the answer is yes. The first and foremost reason beginning that the leading macroeconomic data remains strong, as shown by the Conference Board's leading economic index. Historically, recessions have been marked by that index turning lower and crossing below its 18-month moving average, but it is not. It's not there, and so, yeah.
And we've had some pretty good earnings reports that came out this last week, so
right.
I mean, there's a lot of good things that are still happening that making the market go forward.
Yep. So a couple of local things that are just really, really interesting to me. So Becca and I touched briefly on this business of the Macon Mall on Eisenhower a couple of weeks ago, and the mayor has now, Macon mayor has now agreed to look into a casino. So as Georgia lawmakers revisit the prospect of legal gambling in the state, Macon-Bibb County's mayor has already been in talks with casino owners and operators. Certainly not anything I'm necessarily advocating for, but if it does come to Macon, I'm going to want to know where it's going to be at so to have the largest impact that we could have. He believes Georgia lawmakers will call for a referendum to go before voters next November, which I think this is already in the bag.
It's going to happen. I mean, they're going to. I think it's in the bag too. My mom has owned property up beside adjacent to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and they have been talking to casinos for several years now about buying that entire front half of the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And
turning it into a big venue, huge,
venue.
like not just casinos, but restaurants and games and arcades and stuff for kids to do while your parents are in there playing slot machines. I have a whole comment about that, but anyways, so if a casino were to go into one of the old anchor stores in the mall, there'd be ample space to build a companion hotel. So this thing has flipped from being just pickleball to gambling in a week.
And government offices.
Yeah,
I like what he's doing by consolidating all the government offices into that place. It, according to the article here, I mean, it's about $850,000 in rent that they would have paid.
The mall donation is valued at $55 million. The UDA will issue bonds for the amphitheater and renovations and use rent from the mall businesses to repay the bonds. Next to the amphitheater, he wants a pizza restaurant and some bathrooms. That was a good idea.
I think so too.
And then pickleball courts would be in the old Belk's department store. It would be the largest pickleball court in the nation. So
I think it'd be great for this to happen in that mall area because that area does need a little revitalization.
It needs a lot of revitalization. He says, we've had people reach out to us already wanting to buy skyboxes, wanting to look at VIP suites and reserving them. We've had a couple of people who have been interested in paying upward of $200,000 to $250,000 for naming rights for the amphitheater for advertising. Within an hour of the announcement, which was broadcast live on Facebook, potential offers were coming in on out parcels. So they're talking about breaking ground in February.
I can see it now, Sherri. Rosenberg Financial Group. Retire.
Gamble
relax.
Here.
Yeah. Don't use your retirement savings here.
So a quick side note on gambling. So I'm from Idaho, and where I grew up, we had Indian reservations all around. And my dad had some land in northern Idaho, and to get to that land where we take our cows to graze in the summertime, that just sold, by the way, without having to pay a 45% estate tax that both Joe Biden wanted to put on it. On the way to that land, we would stop for lunch in one of the Indian reservations. And the reservations typically, back when I was a little kid, had very commercial, what do you call those houses that you just...
Modular homes.
Modular homes that looked really bad, no yard, just no plan, no parks, no green space, no trees, just like a piece of land with a bunch of government-made buildings threw down on it with a concrete wall school, and just horribly, pretty horrible looking.
Well, it started out nice looking, according to your brother, but as soon as they installed all the modular homes and got them all, ready for everyone to move in, they were great air conditions, the whole 9 yards. But this is northern Idaho, and the native Indians there were pretty smart. They disconnected all the air conditioning units and sold them because it doesn't get. so they didn't have AC, but they did have heat at least. So. But
anyways, I just remember it looking really rough and feeling sorry for people that lived there. Well, then back when I was in high school, one of the reservations got the idea to bring in a casino, and this is a lot like that. What's that TV show that we watch about the game warden and the casinos? Longmire, yeah. Yeah, that was a really good series. But so the Indian reservations want to put a casino on, and the plan was to only hire Indians to work in the casino so that they could bump up everyone's lifestyle.
Yep.
So everybody would make more money because they were just stuck in this space. And so they built this giant casino. All of the white people from all around came and spent all their paychecks in the casino. And now the casinos out there make so much money that it pays for people's lifestyle into perpetuity. So if you're a child that is born in the reservation and you're a percentage of whatever Indian, that is, Nez Perce, whatever, you are into perpetuity paid for. So what happens when you have income that you didn't have to work for that comes to you every month?
You realize you don't have to work.
You realize you don't have to work, and so what do you do all day?
Gamble.
No. You drink alcohol and smoke lots of cigarettes. And so you
that is what's happening out there.
Have created a massive addiction problem because you have all of this money flowing to these people that don't have to work because they just were born because they're a percentage of whatever they are.
Right.
And so you have that a problem on one side, and on the other side you have all the people that spend their entire paycheck as soon as they get it gambling, and then they're broke standing in a soup kitchen line so they have something to eat, and they're losing their car, they're losing their homes. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a depressing darn thing. And so I understand that it makes a lot of money and you can get a lot of tax revenue off of this, but there's an offside to the whole gambling deal.
There is.
So see how that goes.
Maybe they'll only employ native Maconites.
So the other thing that's fascinating to me is there's a historic building up the street from our loft, and it's right above City Hall. If you drive up Poplar Street, just past City Hall on the right, you'll see it. It's a temple. So this guy...
I think it's the old Masonic temple.
Yeah, Masonic temple. It's phenomenal. This guy out of California just paid $12 million for it. And he is turning it into a music venue and esports venue so that you can go there and watch people play video games for money and see competitive video gaming in a massive $12 million facility. So what seems wrong with that picture?
$12 million for that building?
Yes. Already did. Closed 2 weeks ago.
I hope you had it inspected.
Oh, it's rotting.
It's rotting.
It's rotting, and there's water drain problems and all sorts of things. And he's going to put in a parking deck and something else, and hopefully a few bathrooms. But anyways, I think this is about gambling. I think that it's not about esports, just watching people play. I think it's because they know that gambling is going to be approved, and that they're going to have an esports gambling facility for people to go out and have hot wings and gamble on who's going to win the next game of, I don't even know what people play online anymore, esports. I have no idea about any of that. But I know our son and our son-in-law.
Call of Duty and games like that, competitive online.
Yeah. Our son and our son-in-law both play video games nightly as a relaxation thing. It's a thing. It's what people do. Do you play video games? No, Neil doesn't. We don't either. So I'm really out of the loop. I'm like an old person on this subject.
Well, Leanna's got Preston tightened down to one night a week. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought he did it an hour a night.
No, just Fridays.
So.
Anyway, you want to talk about some chip shortage? Are you there yet?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. As everyone knows, there's a microchip shortage going on in the world.
Which is why there's no cars.
Right. One firm's crisis is another's opportunity. A shortage of semiconductors has pumped up the valuations of firms such as NVIDIA, and we do own that in our portfolio as a disclosure, whose chips power everything from video gaming to machine learning and data centers. But a boom for sellers means misery for others, like car buyers. Car makers have become computers on wheels and are among the victims of the chip shortage. Profits at Ford, America's second largest car maker by volume, fell by half in the most recent quarter amid global supply shortages. But Sherri, when I was reading this article, it reminded me what you were saying earlier about, we're coming to the end of the COVID, hopefully, and, if you want to re-envision yourself, you still have time to do that, so go take some classes or whatever. That's exactly what Ford has been doing in this time, is they have made some pretty broad remarks about, what
new plants,
what they're getting rid of gas-powered vehicles and going to try to convert to total EVs. So that's how they're doing it. Anyway.
And we have Ford in our portfolio as well.
Yep. And let's say the industry might build around 5 million fewer cars this year, all for the want of a single tiny little microchip. And Apple and Microsoft have also warned that they're being affected. And I believe it was a week ago, Apple came out and said that they're considering cutting production, but they're going to have to because they just don't have the chips. The shortage is a result of a sudden surge in demand, too, because before COVID hit, everyone was just doing their jobs and doing it,
well, people weren't driving.
Normal.
They weren't buying cars.
That's right.
So all the chip production went to PC chips.
That's right. But see, now you got all these people sitting around doing nothing on Amazon, so they're ordering more computers and things with microchips, and then all the companies out there have gone to video chat and such. So it is really driving up the demand for the microchips, and the production level is just not there. The crisis has three consequences, two encouraging and one less so. The first is an investment, but producers such as Intel, Samsung, and TSMC are planning to spend hundreds of billions of dollars over the coming years to build more microchip factories. The second is that the chip industry consumers are adapting. The second is that chip industry customers are adapting. When demand collapsed in the early pandemic, car makers cut their orders with chip makers. The car industry size and clout used to mean that when the automaker walked in the door at the chip manufacturing facility, that they were the big guy in the room. Not anymore. So now they're standing in line just like everybody else. But you've also got companies like Tesla and Volkswagen who are opening up their own chip factories, and so that's going to ease some of the demand too. Now, the third underwhelming effect has been the surge in techno nationalism. America is planning to hand out billions of dollars to lure chip makers back from East Asia. Europe wants to double its share of global production to 20%, and Britain has now declared the fate of a small chip factory in Wales to be a matter of national security, so they're going to prop that one up as well. But anyway, government should not be the one to come in and bail out the chip industry, because just the standard supply and demand will take care of itself, and the free market enterprises should fix the problem. Don't you think,
right.
Sherri?
Yeah, so this government's going to swoop in and make everything better.
Right.
But that's so that we can all function again. And they're always wanting to say that they've saved something, is my thing. So then this morning I go in the Wall Street Journal, and there's this article that says the U.S. still dominates in semiconductors. China is vulnerable. And it's like, what? Okay, so why is the media telling us that we don't make these things and that they all come out of China? Almost every client I've met within the last month has made that comment to me, regardless of what news outlet they listen to. China makes all these chips and we're at the mercy of China. It's not true. We're a massive producer of this. So the Financial Times says the U.S. risks losing its superiority in semiconductors that are critical for commercial and military success. The Economist, a misapprehension of the business reality can usher in myth-based policies that end up doing more harm than good, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, discussions of America's competitive position in semiconductors are often based on gross misunderstandings of the nature of the technology and the structure of the industry. Questions like whether the U.S. is at risk of losing or has already lost technological supremacy, or whether we are vulnerable to possible pressures from, let's say, the Chinese, are posed, spun up, and chewed over without a clear sense of how things really work in this sector. The urgency is valid. Semiconductor technology is correctly seen as critical for the rapidly developing digital economy. So this article goes through the different sectors of the chip industry and why the U.S. is the leader. And I'm not going to go all through this because you're going to go to sleep on me out there or cut me off.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I'll just sleep over here.
But anyways, if you want a copy of the article, because it's the first truth-telling article I've seen on this subject, and I don't even know, how long has this been going on?
It is
a
good
year?
Article.
It's a really good article. So just email me, Sherri, Sherri, @rfmoney.com, or if you go to the Wall Street Journal, it's on the front page. The U.S. still dominates in semiconductors. China is vulnerable. So I don't know why we want to beat ourselves down constantly and make ourselves sound stupid and broke and behind, and why the media wants to throw everybody else in front of us, and that China is somehow smarter than we are. Well, there's just a bunch of thieves. They've robbed us blind, and yet the news wants to call them out as being better than us. This makes no sense. And they have labor camps, for God's sakes.
That's right.
I mean, really? Why don't you go live over there then? Go live over there if you think it's so great, and leave us alone.
Get them, girl.
All righty. Here's another one. Okay, so remember when Joe Biden was elected, and the first thing he wanted to do, first thing he did was to shut off the XL pipeline?
Right.
Right? Isn't that what it's called? Oops. Now gas prices are going up. So guess what? He's reversing his stance on the pipeline and energy production, because guess what? People that make money and have to drive to work are paying 50 cents more a gallon for a gallon of gas all of a sudden, and it's going to hurt the pocketbooks.
Actually, it's over $1 since
over the last year. Since he took office.
Since he took office, yep.
I was thinking of just
the XL pipeline.
Okay.
Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah. So Biden team is asking oil industry for help to get tame gas prices. For 9 months, President Biden has been pursuing policies to squeeze oil and gas producers to limit production and eventually go out of business. Mr. Biden is now having to suffer the humiliation of beseeching an American industry he hates as destroying the planet to save the day. This is the politics of falling job approval. Crude oil producers have doubled since the November election, and this week closed above $80 a barrel. This has flowed into gas prices paid by voters, with the national average up more than $1. A federal agency is warning that Americans who use natural gas for heat could pay 22 to 50% more this winter. At a presidential debate last year, Mr. Biden said he would transition away from the oil industry. How stupid.
And you know what? They need to realize that not all change has to be made with a hammer.
Right.
I mean, they're just trying to beat their policies, I guess, in the 4 years that they're going to be in office.
You can't go off of oil in 4 years when the entire world is dependent upon it, and it's cheap. I mean, coal production is down because, and it's the amount of coal out there is down because China's using a ton of it.
That's right.
To pollute the world, and it's going up exponentially as far as our use of coal. And we shut down a coal mine because it was dirty, yet China's burning it all over the place, and then we feel beholden to them.
Right.
It's nuts.
But you know, the courts are a court that blocked a moratorium, but the Interior Department got the presidential message, and what they're doing is there's a lot of court battles going on, but all the departments, environmental agencies, the IRS, anybody that can put a regulation in the way of progress or of any company that has maybe a negative impact on the environment, they're blocking them in so many different ways.
So Mr. Biden and his party have sent signals that are loud and clear in accord with the larger cultural message that fossil fuels are the new tobacco and the world doesn't need them. That isn't true, as Mr. Biden is finding out the hard way. Despite all the subsidies for renewables, fossil fuels provide 80% of America's energy, and high prices weigh on consumers and the economy. Mm-hmm. Cha-ching.
That must have been Biden in that conference I saw with a brown paper bag over his head. It's not me.
And then the next genius idea is raising taxes on people. So they think, see, here's what's interesting to me. They want to raise $2 trillion over a decade. That's a drop in the bucket compared to what they're spending. I don't even understand any of this. It's like nobody can do math. If you're spending $10 trillion and you raise $2 trillion over 10 years, where do you end up? You're broke. You're completely broke, and so you're carrying all this debt load that you can't pay off. And on top of that,
what is the national debt right
it's
now?
128% of GDP right now. Oh, you want to look at the actual number?
Yeah,
oh, yeah, go to the debt clock. So, anyways, so they would help combat growing wealth inequality. I think that idea is going to go out the window, too, with getting rid of oil and everybody having to drive an electric car that costs more than they can afford to even buy. I mean, these ideas are so stupid. I really think that everybody's going to wake up pretty soon.
We're at $28.8 trillion.
$28.8 trillion in debt?
In debt.
Okay.
U.S. national debt.
Okay. That's not a big deal. Hey, we could just get another mortgage.
Yeah. A HELOC.
The House's proposed tax increase would be the largest since 1968. This push for higher corporate taxes and higher rates for top earners, with a Biden pledge, no household making less than $400,000 will see their tax increases. Let me explain something.
How many times have you heard this in your life?
A lot. So if you own a business, you can choose how much you pay yourself. So you can be Jeff Bezos, and you don't have to pay yourself more than $400,000. You can pay yourself in stock. You can pay yourself in other ways. Your business can provide everything that you need to function in your life.
That's right.
You don't have to have a salary. I mean, they don't understand how anything works. And this sounds good, I guess, to the average person who's making $15 an hour. Well, yeah, if you're making $400,000, you should be paying more because those people make too much money. What if you applied yourself and you went out and made more money? What if you took advantage of Walmart's free college and went and got a degree in supply chain management or something and rose up in the company and became vice president of Walmart? What an idea. Do you know that the lady that runs HR for Walmart globally started out as a cashier?
Good for her.
She started out as a cashier, and she trained her way up to the top of the food chain.
There's tons of stories like that.
Yes, it's possible. We don't have to just hammer people that actually were successful like her. Why does she have to pay more taxes to offset all this garbage that we're throwing around? I'm sorry, I'm kind of in a mood today.
No, that's okay. I don't disagree with the thought.
So Republicans preparing to challenge narrow Democratic majorities in the House and Senate view Biden's tax agenda as an overreach that will lead to inflation and a recession. They point to analysis showing that people making less than $400,000 would see increases in tobacco taxes. I mentioned this last Friday.
Yes, you did.
That's where they said they're going to really make a difference in everything is raising taxes on tobacco, which already is extremely expensive unless... I don't even know what vaping costs. I don't keep up with that stuff. Anyways, you're on your money. Help us out here.
Good morning. You're on the air with Randy and Sherri.
Hi.
Yay, good morning.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yes, sir.
Good. I'm sorry. Stupid question. About the OLOST. The brochures that are being mailed out now are interesting because they tout this supposed 40% drop in property tax.
Yes.
Well, we heard the story with the consolidation.
Yes.
And we
it
heard...
didn't work.
No. we heard that property taxes were going to drop then. Mine surely didn't.
And ours went through the roof.
Yes, and most of the people I know didn't. So you had mentioned earlier on the program that this tax is coming from hotels
and restaurants.
And restaurants only?
Yeah, it's a surtax. It's supposedly targeting, the idea is to target people that are passing through town that don't actually live here, and that they would use that 1% extra tax, which so think about the casino now. Think about if he pulls this off and gets illegal gambling in Middle Georgia and that mall on Eisenhower Parkway, and you drive all those people from out of town to come in and stay at the hotel and gamble. Imagine how much tax it could generate off something like that to offset the taxes for property owners in Bibb County. That's where he's going. That's where he wants to be.
And that hotel...
Well, and that makes sense in theory.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see an actual decrease in my property tax bill when it hits, because I have seen nothing but increases.
Right. So
I agree with you.
when Lester Miller was elected, Macon Magazine did an interview with him, and it was a 4-page spread, and I wish I had kept it to email it to you, but he laid out, like before he was even elected, he had an action plan, and he had 35 people on his team to go after all of his agendas because he doesn't think he's going to get reelected for some reason. He thinks he only has 4 years to really make change, and so he hit the ground running, and that article explained exactly how this tax was going to work and how our taxes were going to get rolled back in a huge way, because our taxes are ridiculous that we pay in Bibb County. I mean, it's exorbitant, and so that's why people are leaving, because they're sick and tired of paying so much taxes. And then what do you get for it? What do you get? What is better about your life for these taxes that you're paying?
And in addition to the increases that we've seen in the property taxes, we're still having to pay $240 extra a year to have your trash picked up.
Right. So, anyways, I wish I had that article, but if you, Macon Magazine, I don't know if you can go online and get that and go back to that issue of when right as he was elected. It was just incredible that the agenda that he has is amazing, and he had like 100 things he wanted to do in 100 days, and he's nailing it. I mean, I'm believing this guy. I don't think he's just a bunch of talk. I think he is serious about making change and changing Macon and changing it for all of us and making it
Sherri,
better.
what about a little insight into, suppose this thing passes, how soon should we expect to see? Am I going to see a noticeable decrease in my property taxes next year?
Yes. So that's his plan. And so this thing had to pass through the legislature in Atlanta, which it did. And now it's already there. It's already here. We just have to vote on it locally to make it happen. And I don't know why anybody would not vote for it to have their property taxes go down. I mean,
well, if everything that's being said is true, and if it results in a decrease in his property taxes, because as you observed, the property taxes in this burg are absurd.
So here's the other piece of it that was pretty cool. So we are in the down leg of COVID, and the music venues have all opened back up. The concerts, the Grand Opera House, the theaters. We went to a horrible movie last weekend and paid way too much money for it. It was torturous. James Bond, don't go there. Do not go see that movie. Buy it as a side note. $20-some. Anyways, the 2.5 hours of torture.
At least don't go with Sherri. She's out there and squirm the entire time.
Popcorn was good. I probably gained 2 pounds. But anyways, so everything is opening back up, and people are going to start getting out and spending money. You have all this pent-up demand of people that haven't been able to get out and do anything fun for 1.5 years, and we're going into the holidays on top of it. So I don't know. I'm extremely optimistic because of everything I've read about Lester Miller, he's followed through, and it's not just been his lips moving. He's serious.
I hope that's the case, and I hope that you guys will stay on this concept, and I wish that some of the local media would get a little more active in actually following through on these things.
So did you see the thing he did about the blighted homes? He wanted to tear down 100 homes in 100 days, and he went out picking up trillions of pounds worth of trash that the people were dumping everywhere. I mean, he had volunteers out helping pick up trash. I don't know. I'm a believer, so I hope I'm right.
I hope so too. And guys, please just stay on it for all of us.
Awesome. Yay.
Well,
thanks so much for listening, and thanks for calling in.
Hey,
thank you.
And I wanted to add one thing to this hotel restaurant taxes. It's not just to reduce the amount of taxes, that for the homeowners, because what he's doing, and it may end up in the mathematical method just be the same thing, but he's also funding or helping support some of the agencies around town, like some of the nonprofits, because before they were taking money out of the general ledger to help these organizations, because there was a lot of like struggling artists and things like that.
Like Making Arts Alliance?
Yep.
Are they going to get a piece of this?
They do.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about that part.
So it helps support a lot of organizations, which help support the community. So it's a good thing all the way around. So not 100% of it is being used for tax abatement.
Yep. So the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, if you don't live downtown or come downtown very much, the old government building that's being turned into a hotel will be open in January. Yep. It is huge, and it's going to drive much more traffic down here of people eating out, staying in the hotel. So there are things happening, and there are lofts downtown now. There are rentals. There's an Airbnb that's being built on 2nd Street, It's a corner of 2nd and Mulberry Street Lane. Is that right? Or Poplar? No. Anyways, it's under construction right now. There's a ton of construction of things that are going to attract people to come down here. There's a what's the thing?
Are you talking about behind Larry Bush Tire?
No, I'm talking about the one that we walk by on the way down here. That's going to be that Airbnb, not Airbnb, but like a boutique hotel.
Okay,
But there's a lot going on downtown. You need to really. In fact, brunch today starts at 11. You might want to get in your car right after the show and drive down here and just eat brunch and walk around and just see. Highly recommend Oliver's Corner Bistro on the corner of 2nd and Poplar. The food's amazing. Anyways, we have another call. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherri. How are you today?
Sherri, I'm fine. I listened to your program. Let me mention something to you about the OLOF.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, we got it down to a 5-year. OLOF usually has no sunset. We got it down to 5 years that they're going to have it, then
evaluate it.
Right. We're going to re-vote on it if we like it. Now.
So are you a politician?
No, this is Calvin. I'm with the Bibb County Party.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
great.
Okay. So what's happening? And this is what Lester has said. This is me talking to him personally. Okay. The first year in the OLOF, if we pass it, 22. They will collect the money and basically put it in a bank account. That's the concept. To see if they raise enough money to see if they can lower the price.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, the figure is $30 to $35 million is what they're saying it'll raise. Okay. That's the concept. Now, the offshoot, people have asked me about this. I say, what you have to understand is every percentage sales tax is affected by every other percentage sales tax because if this tax is gone over the edge and it takes too much money out of the private sector, then every one of those 7% and 8% they call it would be decreased by the money. People say, well, what if it raises less than 20% of what it, would we still get a tax decrease? I said, what you have to understand, every one of the 7% in that thing would be reduced by the 20%. Every designated purpose for every percent would be reduced by that 20%. So therefore,
that makes sense.
If it raised $25 million, we wouldn't have enough to reduce property tax.
Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Good.
It's only if you raise enough money.
See, I think it's going to happen. I think the timing is pretty magical of this passing, and then people getting out and starting to spend money again, and the things opening like the fair. I mean, look at this. Everybody's getting out. Schools are open. We haven't been here for a year and a half, so I'm extremely optimistic about this thing. Are you?
Well, me too. And my hope is that it works. My hope. What I'm fearful of is, and he's not really looking at motel, hotel. We have 153,000 people in Macon, Georgia, as residents. During the day, we increased to 250,000 people in Macon, Georgia, because people coming in here to work. Okay. That's where the extra percentage is supposed to come from. Those people coming from out of town, not people traveling through. That will help some.
Okay.
But I mean, every day, 100,000 people that come to Macon every day spend money here. The only problem is, I'm wondering, have we gone so far over the edge with taxes that we, that we're going to collect less because you're going to pull so much? But you're going to pull $35 million out of the economy. That's exactly what it says. You're going to pull $35 million out of the private sector. So I'm wondering if we've gone too far with taxes, with property tax, sales tax, all the other taxes we pay. And this is just another side note, just to let you know. We have now got a $5 increase on our water bill for storm drain improvements, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And the executive director, and I just want to say this, and I don't care if anybody makes a lot of money, the executive director of the Macon Water Authority, and not the Water Board, not the Macon Water Authority Board, who is elected, the Macon Water Authority executive director, he makes over $300,000 a year. And if you look down the scale, everybody in that, the Macon Water Authority does really well, which I want them to. They're not part really of the city government. But the money that's being taken from the private sector is constantly hurting the productivity that's happening in our country and in our city. wondering, you know, if you go with, you know, all the curves and the graphs and everything, there's a point at which every percentage you raise is actually producing less and less and less money for the city. So that's my concern. I'm like you. I'd love to see my property tax drop 5 to 7 mils. That'd be great. And people have to understand, we have about an 18%, 19% somewhere. They dropped it a few millage points on education. And then we have about the same thing on county. This will simply drop the county taxes 5 to 7 mils. You'll still have the 18 or so percent, whatever it is, education. So we have about a 38% millage rate in Bibb County.
Very good.
So
you should call Channel 13 and do an interview.
I'll talk any time about this, but I've called to the county commissioners, and now what we're going to do, we want to try to do, and I'd love to see this come to your program. We want a monthly update, if this passes, every month in 22 to see where we're going.
Great.
We don't want to put this in the background and say, well, it happened, and a year from now we're going to get. No, I want to see month by month to see how it happens.
And you're pushing for that?
Right, we are.
Good.
We are pushing that. And we talked to the county commissioners. I've talked to the people involved in that. They said that's a great idea. We'd love to see that. We got some good. We got 4 really good county commissioners up there. I mean, the 4 are great, and we can talk to them and all this. But I want people to be so involved with this that they'll see this and say, "Okay, Mr. Miller, I don't doubt you. I think his heart's good."
We do.
What he did just didn't work. Now let's back up and look at this thing again and see what we need to do. It's like a friend asked me. He said, we're going to hire policemen. I said, okay, give me your number. He said, what do you mean? How many policemen do you need to hire? I said, we need to somehow find a way that we don't have 1 million policemen because that's going to reduce crime. We got to start thinking about it. What is actually the outlet in your business? You don't go and say, hey, you know, this ought to do this. No, let's look at what the productivity is going to be in the stock.
So let me ask you a question. So if somebody wants to stay dialed into all of these topics, where do you suggest that they go, and what should they read or listen to or what?
Well, we in the Bibb County Party, Bibb County Republican Party, we're having meetings on a regular basis. You've been to them. You've spoken. Thank you so much. Helped us tremendously. Thank you so much for all that. But we are trying. We have a new chair, Dave Summerall, doing a fantastic job this year. And we're trying to stay engaged with that. The county commissioners come to some of our meetings.
But if somebody doesn't want to come to a meeting, can't they go to the website? Can't they go to the mayor's website or something and read an update? We have actually put in and gosh, when you talk about technology, I'm just off the chain. But anyway, they're trying to put this on an email site that anybody wants to can get our regular email that tells about meetings. Then we're trying to start up a website. We've got a group working on it right now that will keep people up to date with a lot of this stuff. And I just like the website has really not gotten developed yet. So where do you send the email? Because we're running out of time. So where would people send an email if they want updates?
You know, Bibb County GOP is the only thing that I know that's on the email. See, I'm not technological. I wish I was.
BibbCountyGOP.org?
I think it is. I think that's what it is. And I tell you what, I will get back in touch. I'll send you an email.
Check it out and shoot me an email. Do you have my email? Sherri@rfmoney.com.
And I tell you, I'm going to hook you up with Dave Summerall.
Okay.
Let him put you on our email list.
Okay, great.
So I'm sorry, I didn't take up so much time, but
you're fine.
You're fine.
You're fine, but shoot me an email with that, and then I'll share it with everybody next week when we're on the show.
We'll do it.
That'd be great.
Have a great weekend.
Yay, have a great weekend. So that was very interesting.
That was.
So I haven't been following
thanks for calling, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for calling. So I still am very optimistic about this, and I think the timing is kind of like a perfect storm. And it's one of those deals where a politician could really take credit for things that they had nothing to do with because of COVID and say, look how great everything is, and everybody's out spending money, and it all worked out. But it is what it is. I mean, timing is everything, and I think the timing of this passing is huge. So, and I think the whole casino thing, I think it's all tied in together, and so it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. But I can imagine. They said, and I read in the article about the casino, and I missed that part, that they're only approving like 2 or 3 casinos, and there's only like a handful of things that they're going to approve for the entire state. So it's going to be a massive food fight of who gets this stuff. So the fact that anybody's even looking at Macon is pretty extreme. I would guess Savannah would be another location that they would be looking at.
Well, this is central in the state.
Right.
This is good.
Driving through on your way to somewhere, stop for the night.
But you know, Sherri, we're down to just about a minute.
Ah, we are.
And,
oops, I better say who we are.
Yeah, exactly. We missed the halftime show, too.
So we are Rosenberg Financial Group. You've been listening to us, Randy and Sherri Goss, financial advisors. You can look at our website, retirerelax.com, to learn more about us, download free special reports that are just awesome. My life book that I wrote back a long time ago is on there for free. If you want to spend the time this weekend doing some estate planning with your family, it's either printable or you can do a fillable PDF, and there's all sorts of material on there. And this show is actually on the website too, so if you don't always get to hear us, you can always listen later by going to retirerelax.com.
That is correct.
Yay.
Very good. But anyway, if you're looking for another financial advisor or just want us to review your portfolio, give us a call.
Free consultations all day long.
And we hope everybody has a great weekend.
Yay.
And we're headed out of town to our national conference, so we'll be good to go.
So we should come back with a lot of really good material next week. But anyways, give us a call at the office, 922-8100, and have a great weekend.
The views expressed on the show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.